Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking what might look like a dense, complex legal framework, Nepal's Cooperative Act of 2074, and transforming it into a clear, actionable blueprint for community empowerment. Honestly, this isn't just dry legal text. It's essentially the architectural plans for how everyday citizens can legally pool their resources to build these massive, self-reliant economic engines. Okay, let's just dive right in. Here's our roadmap. We're going to build this structural pyramid step by step, starting with the foundation and values, then the formation of a primary institution, scaling up from district to province, unlocking specialized unions and banks, and finally covering registration and working areas. First up, part 1, the foundation and values of cooperatives. Because before we start throwing numbers around, we really need to understand the why. If you read the preamble of the Act, it hits you right away. This is absolutely not just about making a quick profit. It is explicitly designed to integrate scattered capital, technology, and local talent to build a socialist-oriented, self-reliant economy. Every single strict rule we're about to look at is there to protect those exact values. Okay, so before you even think about gathering your founders, we have to define what the law considers a family. It includes spouses, kids, parents, and dependent siblings. But, and this is a big but, it explicitly excludes anyone who is legally separated or already living completely independently. You really need to understand this strict legal definition because it dictates exactly who can form the bedrock of our cooperative pyramid. Moving on to part 2, the formation of a primary institution. Time to gather the community and lay down the first bricks. So, what's the magic number? According to Section 3 of the Act, for general citizens to form a primary cooperative institution, the baseline requirement is exactly 30 people. That is your starting line to start uniting your community's economic power. But hey, the law is actually pretty flexible here. Let's say you're a group of youth, or you're laborers forming an institution based entirely on your specific skills or physical labor. The Act actually recognizes that and cuts you a break. For you, the threshold drops down to just 15 citizens. Now, while the Act lowers the barrier for youth and labor, it also establishes a much higher bar for certain high-density areas. It's all about ensuring economic stability where the stakes are higher. For instance, if you're looking to run a savings and credit cooperative specifically within a bustling metropolitan or sub-metropolitan area, well, the capital needs are way larger. So you're going to need to gather at least 100 Nepali citizens just to form your primary institution. And here is the golden rule. You absolutely cannot forget this. Remember how strictly we defined a family a minute ago? Well, the law strongly mandates that during this initial formation phase, whether you need 15, 30, or 100 people, only one person per household can be counted toward those minimums. It's a really brilliant way to guarantee that your co-op is rooted in a wide, diverse community rather than just being controlled by one or two powerful families. All right, part 3, structure from district to province. Once your primary institutions are humming along, how do you connect them and scale up? It's a classic bottom-up hierarchy. Your primary institutions bundle together to form district unions. Then, those district unions bundle their power to form provincial unions. It's a built-in mechanism to take local success and scale it into real regional power. Usually, forming a subject-specific district union takes 11 primary institutions, and a general district union requires 15. But get this, for remote A-class districts, the law practically cuts those requirements in half, dropping them to just 6 and 7. That's a very calculated, intentional move to make sure even the most geographically isolated communities aren't left behind. Taking it up a notch to the provincial level, Section 7 dictates that to form a general provincial cooperative union, you need 31 institutions. And they can't just be from one neighborhood. They have to come from at least 5 different districts to ensure a broad geographic footprint. And if we climb even higher, say, to a central subject union, we're talking 51 institutions across 7 districts. But here is the absolute genius of the Act, a solid rule of thumb. Whenever you form a higher-level union, you legally must have at least 50% participation from the tier right below it. This mathematically guarantees that national power stays rooted in grassroots representation. You literally cannot form a top-heavy union without the locals backing you up. Part 4. Specialized unions and Manx. Now we're looking at the absolute roof of our pyramid, where things expand from neighborhood savings into massive nation-building infrastructure. Section 9 introduces this really fascinating contrast. You've got regular cooperatives doing the vital everyday work, local savings, community agriculture. But then it introduces specialized unions, which allow these institutions to band together for massive, purely commercial ventures. If at least 25 of these institutions pool their resources, they can legally form a specialized union to build, and I mean literally build, hydropower projects, multi-specialty hospitals, chemical fertilizer factories, or even operate heavy agricultural equipment. It empowers everyday citizens to actually own macroeconomic infrastructure. How cool is that? Sitting at the absolute pinnacle of this whole structure is the National Cooperative Federation. It's the ultimate umbrella organization tasked with nationwide governance. And, true to form, it requires participation from over 50% of all of the district, provincial, and central unions beneath it just to exist. Now, you might be thinking, who handles the immense financial flow between all these thousands of institutions and multi-million-dollar unions? Well, under Section 12, cooperative banks can be established specifically to serve them. However, because of the systemic financial risk, there is no way around it. They absolutely require the strict prior approval of the Nepal Rashtra Bank. Finally, Part 5, registration and working area. You've got the people, you understand the structure, but how do we make this whole shebang legally official? To get legally registered, you can't just walk in with a catchy name. Your founders have to submit some serious paperwork to the registrar. You have to prove you're legally sound with proposed bylaws, financially viable with a rigorous feasibility study report, and democratically backed with concrete details on member share commitments. The Act also tightly controls where you can operate right out of the gate. To keep co-ops hyperlocal and accountable, initial working areas are restricted. For instance, a new savings and credit co-op in a metro area is limited to just one single ward. But don't worry, Section 18 gives you a path forward. If you run a transparent, successful operation for 2 years, you can apply to expand into adjoining areas. And that wraps up our explainer. The legal path is laid out crystal clear in the Cooperative Act 2074, literally from a single citizen's living room all the way up to national infrastructure and banking. It is an incredible toolkit for economic self-reliance. So I'll leave you with this. What cooperative is your community going to start building today? Thanks so much for learning with me, and I'll catch you next time.